Are you serious? How many bumbling, stumbling, fumbling, mumbling mistakes is the United States Obama administration going to make? I mean, it's already bad enough that they've been spying on the Associated Press, spying on members of Congress, spying on the entire U.S. population, reading your emails, recording your text messages, your instant messages, your phone conversations. It's bad enough that we've been spying on the president of Mexico, the president of France, the chancellor of Germany, and now 35 presidents. And yet the Obama administration says President Obama was left in the dark. He didn't know. And anyway, George Bush, blame it on George Bush. What? Don't tell me the president didn't know. Of course he knew. He even told Chancellor Merkel he was sorry that we were listening to your private cell phone message, but it was only for security reasons. Come on, guys. Are you serious? What? But now the policies of the Arab Spring have caused, and the stiff arming of Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel are causing the Russians to not only take a stronger foreign policy approach as it relates to the Middle East with Syria, with Russia's Vladimir Putin backing Assad and President Obama backing the Muslim Brotherhood, Al-Qaeda freedom fighters of Syria. What? But, and I won't even talk about 60 Minutes. I'll do that in my next interview, my next video. I won't even talk about, I don't even want to go there with Benghazi. We'll do that in the next video. But let me tell you what else is going on. And I really want to thank Nick of New York. I also want to thank Penny of Virginia for this report. Very fascinating and very powerful, to be quite honest with you. Russia is now eyeing Egypt and its ports as a bid to boost its own military presence. In other words, Russia's been seeking to upgrade its military ties with Egypt, and in an effort to augment its limited access to the Mediterranean and bolster its navy presence in the Mideast region. The London Times is reporting today. According to the report, Moscow has been shopping for alternatives to the Tartus port in Syria, where it maintains a limited naval facility, due to fears that President Bashar Assad's regime will eventually be toppled by rebel forces. So the Times of Israel could not independently confirm this report, but Russian President Vladimir Putin has stated that Russia would seek to maintain a permanent naval presence in the Mediterranean Sea. But experts say that the base at Tartus, Syria, can't provide the sufficient support for such a presence and is too small for large ships. So Tartus is vulnerable and not good enough. And the Egyptian ports along the Mediterranean are perfect for what Russia sees as their navy and its presence. But wait a minute. Egypt has had a 33-year relationship with the United States of America after the signing of the Camp David Accords with Israel Prime Minister Menachem Begin and Egypt's President Anwar Sadat. Remember that? Jimmy Carter brokered that. 6 months later, Sadat was assassinated by members of the Muslim Brotherhood, but his vice president, Hosni Mubarak, stepped into the presidential role and beat the Brotherhood back down and took a strong position of Egypt and guided Egypt for 32 years of prosperity, peace with Israel, and a relationship with America, stabilizing the entire region of the Middle East. But during the orchestrated Arab Spring, which the Obama administration totally was supporting, we've seen nation after nation fall, including Egypt. First Tunisia, then Egypt, then Libya, then Yemen, and then the civil war chaos going on right now in Syria. But this was all prophesied in the Bible. Now we know that President Obama understands dark sentences. He truly does. He understands it from different perspectives. But the Arab Spring, and I actually find where he would be the king that understands his dark sentences in Daniel chapter 8. Let me read that for you in verse 23. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to full, a king of a fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, and he shall prosper, and he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. Now, what does this mean? Well, by having this Arab Spring, and I'll read that for you right here out of Daniel chapter 11, 4 or 5 verses, and then let me give you the rest of the news story here with Egypt. It says in Daniel 11, 41 through 45, he, an antichrist spirit, he shall enter also into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab, and the chief children of Ammon. Now that would be the nation of Jordan, okay? Because that's the descendants of Jordan. In verse 42, he shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape, but he shall have power over the treasures of gold and of silver, and over all the precious things of Egypt. And the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his steps. But tidings out of the east, which is China, and out of the north, which is Russia, shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with a great fury to destroy, and utterly to make away many. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas. That's the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. In the glorious holy mountain, that's Mount Moriah. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. Now, this relationship that is being built now between Russia and Egypt is because of the broken down relationship of Obama and the new leaders in Egypt. Now remember something. The Arab Spring, Hillary Clinton kept saying, Jose Mubarak, his days are numbered. He must go away. President Obama said, Ben Ali of Tunisia, he's got to go. He did. And the Muslim Brotherhood took over Tunisia. Then even President Obama said, Jose Mubarak must step down. And he did finally. Driven out of power. Egypt then fell into the hands of 5 military generals who then allowed for some type of an election, which ended up being the Muslim Brotherhood's president, Mohammed Morsi. Morsi ruled Egypt with a rod of iron for a year, literally implementing Sharia law, firing 70 governors, firing 70 judges, firing several military generals, until he had this country of Egypt under Sharia law being implemented. Even 3 cities were under martial law. But 14 million Egyptians and rose up. Why? Because Christians were being crucified. Christian churches were being burnt to the ground. Christian villages were being destroyed. Christians were being murdered. And finally, the people of Egypt rose up. Not just Christians, but Muslims as well. Moderate Muslims who didn't want to be under Sharia law. They rose up, 14 million of them, and demanded no more mercy, no more Mohammed Morsi. Are you serious? The Obama administration was furious and demanded that Mohammed Morsi be reinstated in power. But the Egyptian military said, oh no, we're not going to be under this rule. Thus, the Obama administration has cut off the aid to Egypt. Egypt then immediately has only one move. Got to find a new partner. Got to find a new supporter. And who is waiting in the wings? Vladimir Putin of Russia. This is why in my book, Mark of the Beast, RFID, if you recall, these when I wrote this book, it was so important that people understood the role that Iran would play, China would play with its fierce generals. But look, President Obama, Vladimir Putin, and Mohammed Morsi of Egypt play major roles in the end-time apocalyptic scenario. And you're seeing it develop right now before your eyes. Benjamin Netanyahu and the peace agreement being worked on right now. All of these are coming into play, but they're causing Israel, even in the midst of trying to create a peace agreement, they're being surrounded, being encompassed about by many armies, which Jesus said, when you see this, know that the things that are written shall be fulfilled, for these are the days of vengeance. And certainly David said in Psalms 83 that they are confederate against thee. They are one consent against Israel. They're saying that they wanted to wipe Israel from the pages of history. That the name Israel be no more remembered again, destroying the nation of Israel. This is what the enemy is working toward. They're coming together as one. We're seeing it. And Zechariah said, in the second chapter of Zechariah, God said, you better not touch Israel, for if you do, you've touched the apple of my eye. God also said in Genesis chapter 12 that he would bless them that bless Israel, but curse him who curses Israel. And then God said in Zechariah 12, he said, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all people, a burdensome stone to all those who come against it, and I will break them into pieces. Then he said in Zechariah 12, verse 9, the Lord seeketh to destroy all nations that come against Israel. And yet, Zechariah 14 tells us that Israel will be attacked, and Jerusalem will come under siege, and half the city will literally fall. And the house is rifled, the women ravished, and it will look like that the nation of Israel and the city of Jerusalem are going to fall into the hands of the demonic forces of Satan and the movement of the Antichrist spirit, only to be rescued once again, this time by the Messiah, as he'll stand on the Mount of Olives, splitting it in half with a mighty earthquake, and healing the land as the water will flow from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea. But in this process that we're telling you of the prophecies of the Old Testament, we see this scenario beginning to build. And we're watching the end time apocalyptic events play out before our very eyes. Now, here's what is being said. Dissatisfied with Egypt's progress toward reinstating a democratic government, the United States announced earlier this month, October, that it was freezing the sizable portion of the $1.5 billion that it's been providing to Egypt every year for 33 years. U.S. officials said that the aid being withheld would include 10 Apache helicopters. Why? You were so willing to give it to them before. As long as you were giving it to Mohammed Morsi. Obama wanted to give Mohammed Morsi and did give him 200 armored tanks and 20 new F-16, F-15 fighter jets, and was getting ready to deliver 10 Apache helicopters. Now he's going to freeze the funds, freeze the artillery. Why? Because his guy, Mohammed Morsi, is no longer in power, as the Egyptians have taken back their country. But Egypt can't rebuild the relationship with America right now. And they can't wait 4 more years for a new president. They need help now. So they're going to turn to Russia. And that is going to put Russia staring down at Israel from the Mediterranean. I'm Pastor Paul Begley. We are watching biblical prophecy, and the landscape is changing. Are you saved? Give your life to Jesus Christ. We're in the last days.